Another really good way is to look for their beak, because parrotfish have a beak. That's why we call them parrotfish. All their teeth are fused together in what looks like a beak, and they will take that beak and scrape it along the limestone rocks. Now why they're doing that is because they eat algae, and the algae grows on the limestone rocks. So what they have to do is graze along the limestone rocks, and periodically they'll also tear off huge chunks of that rock. Now, they can't do anything about that, so they have to swallow the whole thing. And then in the back of their throat, they have an extra set of teeth back there that they use to grind up the limestone rock. Now, having ground the limestone rock, they will have to swallow everything. Their bodies will absorb the algae, because that's the part that they like. And then they'll excrete the rest. When that ground up limestone rock comes out the back end of our parrotfish, you guys are actually looking at it, that beautiful white sand. Oh, with a cowfish right in the middle of it. That triangular shaped fish down there is called a cowfish. What happens is that sand is what is produced after our parrotfish have ground the limestone rock into a fine powder. So just consider that about 60% of our sand is in fact parrotfish poop. Now, very important stuff, because of course that sand is where you'll find things like shrimp and crabs and lobster. Also, fish live in the sand. Even the parrotfish use the sand for sleeping, because at night, when all the other fish come into the reef, hug the reef tightly for protection, parrotfish do not. They swim out into the sandy areas, and then they sort of blow themselves what I like to call a spit bubble. It's a cocoon, a mucous membrane that covers their bodies, and scientists believe that the reason they do that is to actually mask their scent so the predators can't find them. Now in the morning when they wake up, they just shrug it off and off they go. Now sometimes it does wash ashore, which can be quite exciting to see when it happens. Alright, so does anybody have any questions about any of the fish we've seen so far? No? Alright, so let's talk a little bit about the corals, because of course, as I said, the fish come here because of the corals. Now our corals are also classified as animals. So all of the things that we're looking at right now that are waving back and forth, people like to think of as vegetation, are actually not vegetation at all, they're animals. They're colonies of animals that live together, share a common skeleton, and a common digestive system. So out here we have essentially two types of corals. We have our flexible corals, and then we have our harder stony corals. Now the flexible corals, they have an outer skeleton that's made from a protein-like substance called gorgonin. And so we refer to those as gorgonians. Now our harder stony corals, they make their outer skeleton out of something called calcium carbonate or limestone. Now the individual animal is really small. It's only about the size of the head of a pin, and it looks like a jellyfish. It's related to jellyfish. It has a bell-shaped head, a mouth in the middle that doubles as an anus. It has tentacles and stinging cells. Now, they have, unlike jellyfish, the ability to build a skeleton. And as I said, the skeleton of the flexible corals, sort of a protein-like substance. Now, there are some differences. There's that winch again, for those of you who didn't see it the first time. Our flexible corals, and there's the chain. Flexible corals are different from stony corals in that they have 8 tentacles. So